Whether it's your research results, patient data, or even your own personal information, never has cybersecurity been so critical as it is now in 2020. Long gone are the days when we can transmit patient information by unencrypted emails or store our research results on USB drives. My name is Jeffrey Frank. I'm a statistician and the CEO of Stat59. In this video, I'm going to bring you up to date on cybersecurity issues for 2020 by describing 4 major threats and giving you 5 mitigation strategies that you can use right now to prevent those threats.
The objectives of this video lesson are to understand the basic threats in cybersecurity in the healthcare context for 2020. In particular, we're going to talk about 4 major threats that we need to watch for and 5 mitigations, things that we can do now to protect ourselves. In 2017, in May, the WannaCry incident affected the NHS in England and Scotland by encrypting all of the files on the target computers and basically rendering the computers completely useless. There was a demand for a ransom of €600 approximately for the decryption code. About 70,000 devices were affected and about £92 million in damages. Those who were working that day saw this screen show up on their computers telling them that their files had been encrypted and were now inaccessible. The story of the WannaCry exploit is actually very interesting. It starts dating back as far as 2012, when the NSA developed Internal Blue as a defensive exploit, which is based on a vulnerability in Windows SMB, or Sender Messenger Block. In 2017, you'll see in March of 2017, Microsoft releases a security patch. About a month later, the NSA exploit of Internal Blue is released into the public on a dark web site by the shadow brokers, and it is in May of that same year that the NHS is affected. So this is an example of our first threat of malware attack. Malware is software that is specifically designed to harm the target computer. This often involves encryption of the target host data. There were approximately 10 billion malware attacks in 2018, and healthcare has the 5th highest rate of malware attacks among all industries. We are not powerless against malware, and there are a number of things that we can do to mitigate malware attacks. Extremely important is keeping your software updated, particularly with security patches. We saw with the exploit based on the WannaCry and the Eternal Blue is that there was a security patch, a Microsoft security patch, that was released approximately 2 months before the NHS incident. Backing up your computers is one of the best ways to deal with this. If you're presented with a completely encrypted hard drive on your own personal computer, it can be as simple as wiping out your hard drive, reinstalling your software, and reinstalling all of your own data from your backup. Problem solved. There's no need to pay any ransom. And of course, having a disaster plan or a business continuity plan for when this happens. This is super important in hospitals, but also can be important for personal data and for business continuity as well. Last year, we saw a very interesting attack where a UK energy company CEO was tricked into a €200,000 transfer. It appears that thieves were using an AI-generated voice software to imitate the voice and the tonality and the punctuation, even the German accent, and tricked a CEO into transferring a large sum of money. And this is an example of social engineering. Social engineering is one of the most common ways that we become victims of cyber attacks, and it's basically the use of psychological manipulation to force users to reveal their confidential information. In 2018, approximately 17% of computer users were victims of some type of social engineering attack, and a 2010 study showed that 73% of healthcare workers could be convinced to give up their passwords simply by use of the appropriate social engineering strategy. Again, we are not powerless against social engineering, and there's some things that you can do right now. The first is not to be phished. Phishing is these emails that many of us have seen For instance, you see the one here that says your Netflix account has been suspended. Simply click here. These are very commonly linked to sites that are there to steal your information. Okay? If you're concerned about your Netflix account, do not touch this email. Do not click on that button that says restart membership. You can go log into the Netflix site and check for yourself. The second is just don't open unexpected attachments. Unexpected attachments are a common source of software that is there to steal your identity. Never touch them unless you are 100% sure that they have come from a reputable source and you are expecting to open an attachment. And the third is to confirm strange activities. In the case that the CEO that was a victim of this cyber attack, it would have been as simple as picking up the phone and calling the person back an hour later asking, "Did you want me to do this?" or confirming it by email. These three strategies can definitely help mitigate our risk of social engineering attacks. In February of last year, collection number 1, the world's largest collection of passwords, showed up on the dark web. Collection number 1 is a collection of 2.7 billion password email combinations and contains 21 million unique passwords. And this is a good example of identity theft. Identity theft is deliberate use of someone else's identity, be it for financial, criminal, terrorist, or other purposes. And this is a common precursor to various other forms of cyber incidents. Medical identity theft can include theft of patients or providers, and CSIS estimates that 15 million Americans were victims of identity theft in 2012. Again, we are not powerless, and there are a number of ways to protect your identity. For those of you who haven't already tried it, I highly recommend going to the www.haveibeenpwned.com website. Here you can enter your email address and you can see if your email address has been the victim of identity theft through data breach of any big providers. Another thing is to make sure that you choose excellent, strong passwords. And this is super difficult to do. Most of us cannot remember dozens of complicated passwords. And so some sort of password manager is an excellent way to keep track of those. There are various software solutions, or for the super paranoid, there's always the option of keeping your passwords written in text, handwritten, in your safe at home where no one else has access to them. And the third thing is to strongly consider the use of two-factor authentication. If you've not used this before, it's very easy to set up using usually your telephone and either a piece of software or text messaging to get a confirmation code before you can log in. And this is available for all sorts of applications such as your email. Also in February of 2019, we saw that a major bug on the iPhone FaceTime app allowed you to hear the audio of the person you were calling before they even picked up the phone. Now, this was patched by Apple in a security patch only 1 week later, but is an excellent example of data breach. And data breach is the intentional or unintentional release of private data into an insecure environment. 2018 saw 15 million patient records exposed in 500 healthcare breaches. For cybercriminals, healthcare data is extremely valuable, much more valuable than credit card data. The estimated cost for a data breach is around $150 million to the victims, and the global expenses in 2020 for data breach is estimated to be around $2.1 trillion. And data breach can take the form of a number of mistakes that we make on our side. It can be storing your data on paper in a knapsack, which you lose at the beach. It can be transferring data by unencrypted emails, which are easily intercepted. Or it can involve data on a laptop where the laptop hard drive is not encrypted. Again, we're not powerless, and there are a number of ways that we can mitigate against data breach. Shred it. If it's on a piece of paper, get it out of your office, shred it so that it's destroyed. Encryption is extremely important. Never, ever should we transmit research data, personal information, or patient data via unencrypted email, nor should we ever store that data on unencrypted hard drives on our laptops or computers. And finally, if you are the type of person who is working in an insecure environment where you really need to protect yourself against surveillance, then the use of a combination of a VPN, virtual private network, the Tor browser, and PGP can be extremely important to protect that extremely sensitive data.
So what we saw in this video is that for 2020, we are going to be facing 4 major cybersecurity threats, which include malware, social engineering, identity theft, and data breach. We also see that we are not powerless against these threats, and there are 5 mitigation strategies that we can do right now. Update your software, back up your data, get depwned, encrypt those hard drives, and enable 2-factor authentication. My name is Jeffrey Franck. I'm a statistician and the CEO of Stat59. If you would like to see how the Stat59 web app can enhance the security of your research data, please come visit us at our website at www.stat59.com.